Hi cozy friends, and welcome back to Morgan Unraveled. If you are new here, my name is Morgan and I like to unravel my mind with my cozy hobbies, mostly knitting. I am sitting in front of an absolute winter storm out the window right behind you, and it is so lovely and beautiful, and it was really inspiring for me to sit and start a cozy snowstorm winter knitting vlog. I feel like cultivating a really cozy winter vibe is going to really help me because, as I mentioned in the last podcast episode, we have just moved back from Australia, and so we are having double winters, and it has just been gray and overcast and cold endlessly for us. So to have a beautiful blanket of snow, it's really helping me get through this extra cold season and just this long season of transition in our life. What I am most grateful for right now is not only being surrounded by family, but also my knitting mojo feels like it's fully back. I didn't knit for the last 6 months. I would pick up projects and then put them down and just not feel inspired to continue working on anything, much less finish any projects I had started. And I shared in the Everything I Knit in 2025 video that I pulled out my Norma sweater and I finished that. And I showed that off in the video, but I talked about how I also was working on my jacket number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's always so hard to show off a cardigan as a work in progress, but when you last saw this, it did not have any sleeves, but I had finished the body. And this January, my goal is to finish this. So it is currently, I think, January 24th. So I have another week to finish this if I want to meet my own little personal goal of finishing this 2025 knit in January. I have completed one sleeve and it looks so small right now. This is really a trust the process kind of knit. Yesterday morning I finished the ribbing on the first sleeve and bound off the cuff, and then I spent some time agonizing over whether or not this sleeve was going to be long enough and grow enough. But I saw projects on Ravelry that said that they used similar yarn to me and that it grew in length from a bracelet length to at their knuckle like I prefer. So I'm hoping that's the case, and I went ahead and committed and picked up stitches for the second sleeve yesterday and just started whipping it up really quickly. I'm really just focused on this knit right now and wanting to finish it. I am doing the decreases for the arm, and then I only have another repeat or two, and we'll be doing the ribbing on this sleeve. And then after that, it will just be the button band. The jacket number 2 is a V-neck cardigan with this beautiful drop shoulder design and detail. I feel like with this chocolate brown yarn, that is the best lighting you're gonna get to see these cables. But I am knitting this in Cascade 220 in the color brown. I think the number was 8686. It is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and I hear this referred to as a workhorse yarn because it's just so reliable and affordable. This is my first time working with it. I purchased this in Canberra in a cute little yarn shop, and I had bought it to make the Dagmar, but it just wasn't working for my vision for the Dagmar sweater, so that ended up getting knit with a different yarn in my stash. But this yarn is working beautifully for this pattern, and I'm very, very excited about it. And it feels so nice to have it almost complete because I started working on this back in June of last year. I took this to one of the crafty cinemas when my sister visited me in Australia. So this just has so many special memories stitched into it, as well as working on it in Sydney before our flight back home. So I'm really thankful for the comfort this knit has brought me along the way, and I really have just put it away whenever I wasn't inspired and pulled it back out when I felt ready to work on it. And that has been a really good learning process for me. I think that with our knits we can tend to feel a lot of shame for putting them down, hibernating them. And I'm really trying to work on just making things when I feel inspired and knowing that I will come back to them when I am ready and enjoying the things I make. As we've talked about, I love to unravel things when they aren't working. It's part of the process we just have to embrace, because sometimes the projects just aren't working how we thought, or they're off gauge, or whatever it may be. I tend to frog them instead of finishing and spending so much time finishing something I know I'm not gonna love 100%. And I always want to like honor my time and the yarn I'm using and making it the best thing it can be in my wardrobe. And that can cause me to have a lot of like self-doubt with my knits of whether or not something is working. And that's something I want to avoid as well. I want to like trust my knitter's intuition or trust my crafty gut along the way. But that is one of the goals for this weekend, is to finish the sleeve for this. But I have another goal for this snowy weekend and let's talk about that. So one of the other knits I finished once I got my knitting mojo back to finish up some 2025 knits was the Sunday suit by petiteknit. It is a baby knit pattern, and most of the time when I knit for my son, I've knit the junior sizes, mostly because he grows so fast. There was no point in making baby sizes. So I'm only making a couple baby size things, I think, but this is one of them. And we are having a girl in April, as I shared in the last video. And so she will be hopefully wearing this as her coming home outfit. I finally got the cute little buttons put on. And I did have to purchase a second skein of this yarn to be able to finish this. And as you can see, there is a color difference in the dye lot. It doesn't bother me that much, because when it's like not something you're looking at in direct light and like looking for it, I don't think it's that noticeable, especially if you're not a knitter. But it is what it is, and I'm happy I got to finish it. I knit this in Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia sport weight yarn, and that is why I ran out, because this pattern calls for fingering, but I had this yarn in my stash and it felt special and perfect for the pattern. Oh, and it is in the color Acorn. I knit the second size in this pattern, which I think is supposed to be 1 to 2 months, but I'm hoping it'll be a little oversized since it is a sport weight yarn, because my babies grow fast and I want them to get some wear out of their knits, and I can fold up her little sleeves when she's really little. And I hope that any future babies we have can wear this, since it's super gender neutral as well. I really love these Sunday designs. I really enjoyed the knitting process on this, even though it did languish and get put away so many times. I cast this on back in August when we found out we were pregnant, and the yoke worked up so fast. I had so much fun with it, but I just took my time on the legs, and once I started to realize I was losing yarn chicken on the sleeves, I really didn't want to look at it. But I can't wait for her to get to wear this. I have also knit a Sunday sweater for my son. This is one of the first knitting projects I made and finished back when I was like learning to knit, I think in like 2023 or 2024, I can't remember. I knit this in 2 yarns from, I think, Joann's or Michael's. It is Big Twist Panoramic, which is a sport weight yarn held with Pound of Love in the color Pumpkin. It's just the chunkiest knit because it's like a worsted weight held with a sport weight. This is a bulky pattern, and I don't remember what size I followed, but I think it was like 3 to 4, and this ended up sized perfectly for like a 4 to 5. And when my son was 2 years old, he was still nursing, so he was really chunky, and he honestly was growing out of this. But in recent times, we've pulled it back out, and he's able to really get wear out of it. He actually fits this size now, so he's getting more wear out of it now when he is almost 4 than he did when he was 2, which is really funny. Can't believe I haven't really said it yet, but the Sunday sweater is a round yoke rib design that creates these like sun rays. But I really love making these patterns. They are so quick and fun to knit, which brings me to some other plans I have. I'm gonna make a whole video about my knitting plans for baby, but I wanted to share a recent yarn acquisition because this is my first time buying knitting for Olive yarns. I've never gotten to shop them in person, and I just didn't ever order them in Australia because I wanted to be shopping yarns that were more local there. So when I was in Kentucky visiting family and my son was seeing all his cousins, we found a yarn shop on the way home, and I got Knitting for Olive merino in the color ochre brown. And I've had my eye on this colorway for so long, specifically both of the ochre colorways, and following along with the Sundays I've already made in the same color like schemes. I want to knit the Sunday dress for baby girl, and I'll probably do a size like 1 to 2 so that she can get a lot of wear out of it. And I think that'll be so fun. It's so exciting to get to make little dresses and little girl knits, because obviously most of the things I've made so far have been pretty gender neutral. This yarn feels so soft and nice, but I bet it works up even more lovely. I know a lot of people refer to this as an affordable yarn. Being $9 per 50 gram skein, I don't usually class Knitting for Olive as the most affordable, just because there are things like drops that are more accessible and affordable. And but in my opinion, this is like somewhere in between luxury and affordable, and I'm so excited to get to finally work with it. I know that their yarns are made very sustainably and hold up really well. I've seen so many reels on the Knitting for Olive Instagram about their the way their yarns hold up and how they don't really pill. And I'm really excited to make a baby knit with that, because kids are hardy on their knits. But all of that brings me back to a cast on plan I have for this snowy weekend that feels just too perfect thematically. If you remember, if you've been following along my channel, I purchased this Isager Soft in the color E0, which is their white shade, back in October of 2024 when I got accepted into a test knit for Sari Nordlund, and it was for her Belle and Sebastian sweater, which is such a beautiful pattern, and I loved knitting it and want to still have the finished object of it in my wardrobe. However, I was already committed to the test knit and this yarn, and I tried my best to accomplish that, and I did technically finish the test knit, which was the upper body and the collar as well as a sleeve. But I hurt my hands so much trying to work cables with this yarn. It is a 56% alpaca, 44% organic cotton. It is a like blown chainette yarn, and my friend Sherry from Good Knits described working with this yarn really well, because she said it is like Velcro. And that is the exact issue I had with trying to knit this beautiful yarn into cables, because it was like sticking and pulling on itself. And even though the cables look beautiful, it was just so painful to work up that I haven't been able to bring myself to finish this beautiful sweater. And I have agonized for a long time over what to turn this yarn into, because this is the most luxurious yarn I have in my stash. It is the most I've ever spent on a sweater's quantity of yarn. And I think each ball of this was $16. Australian dollars, sorry. I'll put on the screen what that is in USD. So for a sweater's quantity, that was quite a commitment, but I needed something that worked with the fiber suggestion from Sari for this sweater, and I needed it locally and quickly for the test knit. So I just committed to this, and I do love this yarn, and I'm excited to turn it into something. So I have decided I am going to frog this sweater for now, and then I will reknit this in something. I will reknit the Belle and Sebastian sweater in a different yarn from my stash or otherwise, but I want to turn this yarn into a Sunday sweater for myself. The Sunday sweater pattern is a bulky weight, and this is worsted. So I'm going to be holding it with a strand of Drops Kid Silk mohair in the color Marzipan. And I think those will look really beautiful together, but I will be knitting slightly off gauge. I am going to be swatching for this today and making sure that it will work for the pattern and figuring out what size I need to knit to end up with the positive ease I would like. So stay tuned for that. But my plan is to cast it on tomorrow, which is Sunday, which feels perfect for casting on the Sunday sweater. And it's one of those projects that works up so quickly that my hope is I can really get this finished and wearing in this winter season with the snowstorms and the winter weather going on outside. It'll be very fun to work on. And I'm excited to have all these matching Sunday knits with my family. I think the adult pattern suggests 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. I'm definitely aiming for the upper end of that, but because I'm going to be knitting on a slightly smaller, tighter gauge, I will have to likely size up in the pattern. But I've also seen in the project notes a lot of people say that theirs ended up way oversized than they expected, so I'll have to land somewhere in the middle probably. But I have plenty of yarn for this sweater, so I don't think I'll be playing any yarn chicken, thankfully this time, because I have done a lot of that lately. But between finishing the sleeve of this sweater and casting on the Sunday sweater, I think that will get us through this cozy winter weekend. And I would love to hear what you are working on if you are being hit with this same winter snowstorm, and what's keeping you cozy. I didn't even talk about it, but I am wearing my book club cardigan by Sari, Nordlund, and I knit this in Wool of the Andes in the color Mink Heather. And I made this while I was in Australia. I followed the knit along from Two Pearls in a Pod and Enzo Knit on Instagram, as well as my friend Mathilde from Nestled in Knits. And that was such a fun knit along. I met so many cool people in the knitting community from that, and I'm so thankful I participated and got a beautiful sweater out of it, or cardigan. But I'm so proud of this project, and it's one of my favorite things in my wardrobe. In my opinion, it was a super easy pattern to follow, but it definitely used way more yarn than expected. That was one of the ones I really lost yarn chicken in and had to pay international shipping twice. Without any further ado, let's get knitting. The sleeves are officially done on my jacket number 2. I am so very excited. So as you can see, our snow clothes are currently drying because we played out in the snow. I definitely included some clips in the vlog. It was so much fun. It was Arthur's first time getting to play in the snow because the last time it snowed when we lived in Virginia was like when I was pregnant, I think, or maybe the year before. And then it never snowed in Australia where we lived. It just got really, really cold. So it was really nice to get to play in the snow with him. And it was the most snow I've ever seen in my life because I've only ever lived in like the south, so it doesn't snow a whole lot, and it's like I'd think 4 or 5 inches of snow right now, and it's still coming down. So really fun, cozy snowstorm vibes. As I said with the first sleeve, I've had some concerns about whether or not this is actually going to fit when blocked, and when I try this on, it looks so tiny on me, especially because I'm pregnant right now. But I haven't fully blocked it. I did a mid-project block on the top half, but the sleeves are unblocked, so they're really small. And the bottom half of the body is also unblocked. So once the button band is actually on, which is the last thing I need to do for this knit, I think it will come together, hopefully. But I definitely want to do a bit of a block before putting it on, I think, or should I just trust the process? Maybe I will just trust the process and commit, because I've already committed to knitting 2 sleeves that are this small, and I'm just gonna hope that when it blocks they come down to like here. I would prefer that. And I hope that this grows a lot in the block. I had some issues with the decreases on the first sleeve. The pattern is written very confusingly, and this is my second pattern from my favorite things, knitwear. And the first one was the Norma sweater, which I had a lot of issues with. I know she's a very popular knitting wear designer, so I don't know why I'm having such a hard time, but I feel like it's because I'm choosing patterns that are like cabled and color work, and her writing style is very line by line, row by row instructions, which is very tedious to follow. And there was an error on the sleeve decrease instructions that said knit 3 together on one of the rows, and it meant knit 2 together like it had said on all the other rows, but I had followed the instructions, so I ended up having to frog back the first sleeve once I figured out that was an error. The second sleeve went very smoothly because I had already done everything on the first, and I was able to pretty much make the second sleeve without really even having to look at the instructions. So that worked up really quickly, and I'm so excited that the knitting is almost done on this. I can't wait to put the button band on and then give it a block and see how it fits. But I'm definitely gonna have to do a fun before and after with this knit, because it's going to hopefully grow a lot. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I need this knit to grow in order to wear it comfortably. The pattern recommends 25 to 30 centimeters of positive ease, and following the size large on gauge should give me about 35 centimeters of positive ease. But as of right now, I just can't see myself attaining that or achieving that. I will have to double check my gauge, but I know that when I did the mid-project block, I confirmed that I was on gauge. So I have seen some people in the pattern project notes mention that they believe her photos are knit a few sizes up from the ease she recommends. In the project photos, like, it's super oversized on her and it looks so cute. So part of me wishes I had sized up even more, but as I said, I'm already knitting a size technically up for me. But I guess we will just have to see how this goes, and hopefully I can get it blocked and include some before and after footage in this vlog, whether the button band is done or not, because I just can't wait to see how this is going to grow. But we've pretty much just been having a really cozy day of knitting and watching movies and Grey's Anatomy, which I'm watching for the first time right now, and it's really fun. Good morning and happy Sunday, friends. It is the perfect day to work on a Sunday sweater. I am drinking a bit of coffee and we got a few more inches of snow last night, which is insane. I think we're at about 6 to 8 inches right now and it is starting to get harder. So we're definitely going to be able to go make a snowman later today. I'm very excited. My son had so much fun yesterday just playing in the soft snow, so being able to make a snowman is going to make his life. He's really in his Frozen era right now, and we have been singing the Frozen songs all day, every day, so it's going to be very fitting. Yesterday I did a little swatch of my yarn and admittedly did not block it, but I swatched on 6.5 millimeter needles. The pattern recommends bulky weight yarn on 7 millimeter needles, but I am using, it's actually a bulky plus a mohair, and I am using a worsted plus a mohair and still got gauge on 6.5 millimeters. I wasn't expecting to get gauge at all. I was planning to knit off gauge and like size up, but surprisingly I'm at gauge. I really like the fabric it creates. It's not too gapey, so I am committed to this. And as you can see, I just kind of didn't take it off the needle. I just grabbed my 6 millimeters and cast on the neckline, and it is at the point, the length to go ahead and join the collar together. I was pretty tired last night. I've been dealing with a lot of pregnancy insomnia. So last night when I got to the point to join the neckline, I just decided to go to bed and that I would do that when I had more light in the morning. And I'm so excited to start working on the yoke today. But let's talk about sizing. I decided to, since I met gauge, go ahead and just cast on for the large, which is the recommended size for my bust circumference, or at least my pre-pregnancy bust circumference. This yarn works up so soft and luxuriously, but the process of knitting it was very tedious just because it sticks together. However, with holding it with a mohair does make it move a little smoother on the needles, I think, and I'm not dealing with splitting as much by knitting just stockinette instead of trying to knit cables. Trying to pull the stitches to make the cables was quite impossible with this yarn. There is literally no give and no stretch to this yarn, but it genuinely feels like a little cloud. While I was working on the swatch and the collar, I have my jacket number 2. I'm sorry if you can hear the sleet hitting the window, but I blocked my jacket number 2 because I tried it on for my husband and the camera and was really stressing out about why it and how it was just absolutely not fitting whatsoever. It was barely like able to pull around my chest. The sleeves were like up to here, and I was just like, this is not working. Like, what if this whole cardigan isn't going to fit me? I don't even want to put the button band on right now. So my husband advised me to just go ahead and block it, and I feel so much better now because I measured it on the blocking mats, and it's literally measuring wider and longer as well as the sleeves than my book club cardigan, which fits me super comfortably. So that really is a trust the process kind of knit, and I was not trusting the process. But I'm feeling a lot better about it. It is still wet, but I can't wait to put the button band on it later this week. I am assuming I'm gonna let this vlog kind of keep going on as long as the snow is going on, so we might have time to fit that in this vlog, and I am hoping that I can at least knit the yoke of this sweater, this cozy wintry vlog. But I am ready to get cozy with my coffee and my knitting and enjoy the snow day from the warmth inside in the heat. I am so thankful that our power has not gone out. I know there are other parts of the country that are dealing with a lot more different circumstances, so I feel very grateful to just be enjoying a cozy snow day. And I will catch up with you later when we have a bit of the yoke to show. I think I've gotten about an hour and a half into this yoke, and as you can see, I am doing a bit of some short rows, which is not in the pattern, so I wanted to come on here and share how I am doing that. The project page for the Sunday sweater says that it was updated at some point to add in short rows and more sizing. My camera was about to fall. But I looked through the whole pattern and I'm not seeing anywhere where there are short rows, whether it's in the yoke or after the yoke. So I looked through the pattern, the project pages, and I found someone who left details about and instructions about how they did short rows in the yoke. Basically in this pattern, you are increasing every so many centimeters and then doing a different ribbing pattern. So maybe 2x2 rib, and then it increases to 2x3 rib. And in each of those sections, one of the users on Ravelry that I am following the instructions from added short row shaping. So what she did was she put a stitch marker for the center front and the center back. And I am increasing in the ways that she did to add some short row shaping and bring the back to sit higher than the front, because the only thing I was nervous about with a circular yoke pattern was it riding up and pulling on my throat. The Arctic Light sweater is a raglan that didn't have short row shaping, and it rides up a lot on my neck and makes it feel really uncomfortable. So I just wanted to avoid that with this one. I'm really happy that I found those notes, and I will make sure to link them in the description. I feel like chunkier knits are so nice for some instant gratification in this slow hobby when you are coming from a season of not feeling super inspired to work on your projects, because they can take so long and it can feel like a slog. Sometimes, obviously, I think it's important to work on whatever inspires you, whether that is something that takes a long time or whether it is something that is quick. I think that the baby knitting has really gotten my mojo back and made me feel really inspired to work on things. One, because they are small, so they work up faster, and also because I know that by the end of this pregnancy, I'm going to be able to put this baby knit on this baby, and it's going to be very rewarding. So I think that finding something that not only feels manageable and achievable, but is inspiring is the best thing to get through a season of feeling bleh about your projects. I think that filming this cozy winter vlog is allowing me to really romanticize being in a second round of winter, because it can be really draining. I mean, a lot of people deal with seasonal depression, and having 2 winters back to back, I talked about this when we moved to Australia, can just the gray days and the short days, because it gets dark so early, it can just feel like life is just slipping away from you and so bleak. So I'm really happy to be kind of romanticizing winter a little bit and enjoying my knitting indoors and being cozy with my family. cozy friends. So it is Monday and we are still very much snowed in, but my husband does work remotely, so he is working today. So it's another cozy day, but kind of business as usual, besides we're running out of milk. But I do have a bit of pumpkin spice tea, which I know is not super fitting for this season, but I am a pumpkin girly, and it also has like ginger in it, which helps my constant heartburn. So I kind of drink it all the time. Let me show you. It's this Republic of Tea pumpkin spice, and it's a black tea with ginger, cinnamon, and blackberry leaves, nutmeg, cloves, and spice. And it's so yummy. I am almost done with the yoke on this Sunday sweater. It is working up so fast, and so I have completed my first ball of the Isager Soft, and I'm almost done with my first ball of the Drops Kid Silk Mohair. So I'm really chugging along on this knit and having so much fun. But in other news, my jacket number 2 is just about dry. It needs just a little bit more time to get 100% dry, but I couldn't wait any longer to take it off the blocking mats. I have never blocked something so aggressively. Like, I usually don't use very many pens when I block something, but this time around I pinned the heck out of it. I wanted it to grow and stretch out, especially on the arms. I really wanted those to lengthen, so let's try it on. Oh my goodness. Guys, I know I didn't make my bed, don't judge me. But the sleeves are actually like sleeve length. This is insane. These were up here. I can't wait to put the button band on, and I think that it'll be a great way to break up the working on this chunkier yarn and these chunky needles. So I will probably work a little bit on picking up the stitches for the button band, but this does feel more damp than I thought it would trying it on. So I should probably let this dry just a bit longer and maybe work on the button band this evening. But it grew so much. Like, these cables bloomed so beautifully. We aren't currently getting any more snow, and the sun has come out, but it is still about 13 degrees outside. It was 7 degrees this morning Fahrenheit, so it's still really cold. I highly doubt the ice is going to, and snow is going to fully melt today at all. So we might have a few more snowy days of knitting and staying in. I am going to go knit and sip my tea, and I will keep you updated on the progress. Time for a bit of a Tuesday update. As far as the snow goes, it is a sunny day, but it is still below freezing, so the snow isn't totally melting yet. It is still very much there, but it's not actively snowing anymore, and the thawing period will begin shortly. So I have gotten a lot of progress on my projects in this snowstorm, and I'm very happy with what I've gotten accomplished. Actually, let's talk about the Sunday sweater first. So I have pretty much completed this yoke. The next round is going to be the last round of the ribbing of the yoke, and then I'm going to do a few rows of stockinette according to the pattern before splitting for sleeves, which I'm so excited about. I can't wait to put this on a stitch saver and try on the yoke, because those short rows have made such a drastic difference in the way the yoke hangs, and I think it's going to look really good. I think it's going to sit really well on me, so I'm really hopeful about that. And it's also just so beautiful. Like, I'm so excited to wear this. I'm especially excited that I got the yoke complete, which was pretty much my goal for this snowy weekend. And honestly, I don't think that project would take me much longer. I also think the sleeves are a balloon sleeve, so obviously that means less decreases, but also just really straightforward sleeve knitting. So on my shorty needles that I use to knit my sleeves, that will be such a breeze, because I won't have to swap to doing magic loop towards the end of the sleeve until I'm at the cuff. So it will just be knitting round and round and round for those sleeves, as well as for the body. Also, if you can see my bed, I'm doing my sheets laundry right now, so that's why it's a mess. But let's talk about the jacket number 2, because this is almost done. I am overjoyed. I can't wait to wear this. So I'm working on the button band. I'm following the instructions of the pattern, but to refresh myself on how to do a double knit button band, I watched Handmade by Florence Miller's YouTube video, how to do a double knit button band. She did that tutorial for one of her wrap cardigans, but it is so helpful. I followed it when I did my first button band for the book club cardigan, and she's such an excellent teacher. I highly recommend, if you are a beginner knitter, to watch her tutorials and just soak up everything like a sponge, because she is such a wealth of knowledge. But I followed a different tutorial for the buttonhole. The buttonhole instructions in the pattern were very confusing and also had an error, so I ended up following a tutorial for the buttonholes from Woolbird on YouTube, and I can have that linked below. But it made it easier for me to figure out what the pattern was supposed to say for the jacket number 2. But I've gotten 2 buttonholes complete so far, as you can see here, and I'm about to do the 3rd, and then there is a 4th one up here. Last night, as I was watching Grey's Anatomy, I picked up all the stitches all the way around the neck, and I did the Italian cast on for the bottom of the button band, and only a couple rows to get established. I am doing the recommended number of stitches for the button band as in the pattern, but it's quite a substantial width, and I'm really happy with how it looks so far. But I'm really obsessed with working on this double knit button band. I always get very hyperfixated on a button band when I'm working on it. Something about it is so meditative. So I haven't been touching my Sunday sweater today. I'm just working on this. I am finishing this ball that I pulled out to finish this last sleeve. And then I have an entire other 100-gram ball that I haven't even cracked into. So I had purchased 700 grams of this yarn, and I'm making the size large, so I'm pretty surprised that I might not even crack into that ball. I'm not playing yarn chicken on this pattern, which is great, because I have played a lot of yarn chicken and I'm very tired of doing that. But I'm gonna go watch a cozy snow day movie with my son and work on this double knit button band. My mother-in-law has been coming up and crocheting with us and watching Bailey Sarian and or whatever movie we're watching, and she's really hoping that she gets a few more snow days out of school this weekend or this week. So it's been very nice to spend that quality time with her, and I'm so glad that we are back in the States so that we can see our family. I cannot believe that my jacket number 2 is officially done. I am so proud to have finally completed this garment. It has been on the needles since June of 2025, and so about 7 months now, and this yarn was purchased back for my birthday in September of 2024. So this has been a long time coming. It is so beautiful in this project, but there's always a caveat, right? I am quite disappointed in the fit of this garment. I knit the size large on gauge. I have double checked my gauge. I am on gauge. The pattern recommends 25 to 30 centimeters of ease, which is about 9 to 11 inches. I followed the size large to give me 35 centimeters or 13 and 3/4 inches. So that's more than the recommended ease. But the finished circumference of this garment, drumroll please, is only 117 centimeters or 46 inches. So it was supposed to be 135 centimeters or 53 1/4 inches. So just so much smaller than it was meant to be. And again, this is on gauge. I don't know what happened. Like I genuinely don't understand. I knit it to pattern. Everything about this garment was knit to pattern. I even knit it longer than the pattern recommended, and obviously it's cropped on me. When I am not pregnant and I'm wearing my high-waisted pants, I think the length is going to be fine, but my biggest qualm is that it's just the ease is not there. Like it should be so much more oversized feeling in my chest. I'm not talking about my belly because obviously I know the arms as well. The sleeves are so tapered and tight fitting, form fitting, and in the sample photos on this pattern, hers is so oversized, and I would assume that she probably knit hers with more ease than she recommends in pattern. And honestly, I don't think her sleeves have as many decreases. I guess that's just speculation, but if I were to knit this again, I guess I would size up even more so than I already did, and I would probably omit a section of sleeve decreases just to have a more flowy sleeve that kind of doesn't hug my wrists. I feel like this pattern just really doesn't hold your hand at all in the process. Even as an experienced cable knitter, there were times where I just had to read my knitting and use like my best intuition to figure out what I was supposed to be doing because the pattern was not very clear. And for the double knit button band, the instructions literally say to search on YouTube how to do a double knit button band. It does not link a specific video. So I highly recommend Handmade by Florence's tutorial, and then I followed Woolbird's tutorial for how to do the buttonholes. I have put the buttons on, and I use these cute little coconut shell buttons, which I think looks really good with this yarn and color. I do love this color on me. I'm so happy to finally have this yarn turned into something beautiful for my wardrobe. And I think that when I'm not pregnant, I will get a lot of wear out of it, even though it's more tight fitting. It's just a very different aesthetic than what I was going for. I did purchase 700 grams of this Cascade 220 and only ended up using 5 3/4 balls, so I have 125 grams left over. But even with my mixed feelings about this project at the moment, I do think it's one of those recency bias things. I think once it's no longer fresh off the needles, I will come to love it more. And I really do love the details of the way the cables go into. But with the completion of the jacket number 2 and the snowstorm starting to melt away outside, I am going to wrap up this cozy week of knitting with me through a snowstorm. So let's talk about the other project we worked on this week, which was my Sunday sweater by petiteknit. I, as you can see, have split 4 sleeves and I'm so excited about it, but I do have a few thoughts to share. I have not tried this on yet since splitting for sleeves. I really need to put it on some stitch holders and try it on, make sure that the sizing is working out. I hope this isn't going to be my new issue that I'm always having, because sizing has not been something I have struggled with in the past. It's usually like running out of yarn and things like that. So hopefully this was just a one-off. But I have some thoughts because, as you know, I am using this yarn from a frogged project, and I, for the start of the yoke, just used unused balls to work on it, but I decided to have a go at frogging the sleeve I had knit of the Belle and Sebastian sweater, and it was very tedious, so stressful. So let's talk about it. I not only have to say I do not recommend using this yarn for cables, but I do not recommend frogging this yarn at all if you can avoid it. If you use isager soft, try your best to not make any mistakes, because if you have to frog your yarn, you have to hold and support the yarn and meticulously pull each stitch, and your yarn is essentially ripping from itself. It feels like it's tearing. Thankfully, it didn't actually break, but the fiber looks completely frayed. I will say, as it's knitting up though, it's not looking visibly different in the garment than the other fibers, so I still feel like it's usable, and it almost just felt like it was felted in its place because of the way the yarn sticks and velcros to itself. It's gonna be quite cumbersome to frog the yoke of that sweater, especially the collar. I'm probably just gonna have to cut out because there's no way. I had to cut the Italian bind off in order to start ripping out the sleeve because I just could not unravel it. But the fabric this yarn works up with is absolutely amazing. So I feel like it's a you win some, you lose some, but I probably will not be purchasing any more of this yarn. It's just, if you have to do any frogging, it's a nightmare, and the knitting experience isn't very seamless. It is just constant snags and having to pull on your yarn. So not my favorite knitting experience, but it will be a very cozy garment to wear, and it has been the perfect thing to work on through this snowstorm. I think that is all I have to share as far as updates on my projects. And I want to say a huge thank you for watching and being cozy with me. Let me know what you were working on through this snowstorm or the extreme heat advisories going on down under. It's so crazy that the polar opposites are happening on my feed right now. I have friends in Australia that are absolutely melting while everyone here in America is blizzarded in. But let me know what you are doing to stay cozy and unravel your mind. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to do the things that help you unravel. Bye, friends.